I should have known something was wrong when Jeremy called an all-hands meeting with less than an hour's notice. The conference room buzzed with nervous energy as people filed in, shooting questioning glances at each other. I clutched my coffee cup, still warm from the break room, and tried to quiet the knot forming in my stomach. My name is Callie, and until that morning, I was the rising star of Turner Tech's strategy division, the woman who'd crafted our last 3 successful product launches, the one who stayed until midnight fine-tuning presentations that Jeremy would later claim credit for. "Thanks for coming, everyone," Jeremy's voice boomed as he strode in, flanked by Aston from product development and my cousin Kylie from HR. Their faces were unreadable, but something in Kylie's stance made my skin crawl. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "We're implementing some structural changes," Jeremy continued, his perfectly pressed suit matching his razor-sharp smile. "The board has approved a new direction for leadership roles within the company." I took another sip of coffee, nearly choking when he dropped the bomb. "Effective immediately, all senior leadership positions will be reserved for male employees only." The room erupted. Not in outrage like you'd expect, but in scattered laughs and actual applause from some of the men. I felt the coffee cup crumpling in my grip. "This isn't a joke," Jeremy added, though his smirk suggested otherwise. "We've analyzed the data, and this is what's best for the company's future. Current female leaders will transition to supporting roles over the next month." "You can't be serious," I heard myself say, my voice carrying across the sudden silence. "That's illegal." Jeremy's eyes found mine, cold and amused. "Actually, Callie, we can. Right, Kylie?" My cousin stepped forward, clipboard clutched to her chest like armor. "The policy has been vetted by legal. It's technically classified as a strategic restructuring." "Bullshit," someone muttered behind me. I turned to see Jackson from Analytics shaking his head in disgust. "Questions?" Jeremy asked, but his tone made it clear the discussion was over. "No? Excellent. Individual transition meetings will be scheduled this week. That's all, folks." People began filing out, some still chuckling, others looking shell-shocked. I remained frozen in my chair until the room had nearly emptied. "Callie?" Kylie approached, her heels clicking softly. "Can we talk?" I stood up so quickly my chair slammed against the wall. "Talk about what? How you helped them do this?" "It's complicated," she whispered. "There are things you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I grabbed my laptop bag and headed for the door. "You chose your side." The rest of the day passed in a blur. I watched female colleagues pack their things, some crying, others rage-quitting on the spot. By 5 o'clock, my own office felt like a cage. At home that night, I opened my laptop, seeking comfort in old project files, the strategies I'd crafted, the victories I'd achieved. That's when I found it. A proposal I'd developed months ago but never submitted. A revolutionary approach to our entire business model. My cursor hovered over the file as an idea took root. They thought they could erase us? Push us into the shadows? Fine. The shadows were exactly where I needed to be. I created a new folder and named it Project Karma. Inside, I pasted the proposal and began to type. Step 1, create male pseudonym. Step 2, build support network. Step 3, make them beg for my help. Step 4, watch them burn. My phone buzzed, a text from Jackson. "You okay?" I smiled for the first time that day. "No," I wrote back, "but I will be." Another message popped up, this one from Kylie. "Please don't do anything rash. Family should stick together." I deleted it without responding. Family. She'd forgotten what that meant the moment she signed off on destroying everything I'd worked for. The laptop screen glowed in the darkness of my apartment as I began to write. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd forgotten the first rule of strategy. Never underestimate your opponent. Especially when she has nothing left to lose. C.P. Rowan, I muttered, testing the name on my tongue. Charles Philip Rowan. The alias I'd created sounded exactly like the kind of privileged male executive they'd respect. I'd spent 2 weeks crafting his background. MIT graduate, silent achiever, innovative thinker. You're playing a dangerous game, Jasmine warned, sliding into the seat across from me at the quiet coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. As finance manager, she had access to everything I needed. If they catch you, they won't, I cut her off, sliding a USB drive across the table. I just need you to verify these numbers. Make sure the projections are bulletproof. She pocketed the drive with practiced casualness. And the board will believe this mysterious CP Rowan appeared out of nowhere? They'll believe anything that promises to double their profits. I took a sip of my latte. Besides, men like Jeremy love discovering hidden talent they can take credit for. Back at the office, the atmosphere had grown toxic. I watched Aston strut past my cubicle. Yes, cubicle, since I'd been demoted from my office last week. Looking sharp today, ladies, he called out to the female staff. Keep those spreadsheets pretty. I caught Jackson's eye across the room. He made a gagging motion, and I had to hide my smile. He'd been one of the few male employees to openly criticize the new policy. Hey, he stopped by my desk later. Want to grab lunch? Can't. Working on something. He leaned closer, voice dropping. You're up to something, aren't you? The way you've been lately. You're planning something. I met his concerned gaze. Better if you don't know. Plausible deniability. Just be careful, okay? I nodded, already turning back to my screen where dozens of emails from CP Rowan were being drafted to various department heads, each containing pieces of my master plan. That afternoon, I spotted Kylie entering Jeremy's office. Through the glass walls, I watched their animated discussion, saw her nodding as she signed something. My fingers clenched around my pen until it snapped. Quite a show, isn't it? Jasmine appeared beside my desk, dropping off some routine paperwork. Hidden underneath was my USB drive. She gave me a subtle nod. Numbers check out. It's brilliant. Thanks. Now we just need... Callie! Aston's voice boomed across the floor. Where's the Q3 analysis? Right here, I called back sweetly, handing him a folder. Though you might need help understanding the more complex projections. His face reddened. Watch it. Your attitude isn't doing you any favors. Just trying to be helpful, I smiled, like a good supporting team member should. After he stormed off, I opened my private email account. The proposal was ready. 40 pages of revolutionary strategy that would transform the company, with carefully buried landmines throughout the appendices. One wrong move from leadership, and everything would explode. My phone buzzed with a text from Kylie. Dinner soon? We need to talk. Delete. That night I stayed late, waiting until the office emptied. In the quiet, I moved through the building with purpose, placing printed copies of certain documents in specific locations, just enough breadcrumbs to support what was coming. Working late? I jumped at Jeremy's voice. He stood in his office doorway, jacket slung over his shoulder. Just finishing up some reports, I said. Someone has to do the actual work around here. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Careful, Callie. Bitterness isn't attractive on a woman. Neither is incompetence on a leader, I replied, gathering my things. But here we are. Before he could respond, I headed for the elevator. Once inside, I pulled out my phone and opened the email I'd drafted to the board. My finger hovered over the send button. Everything was in place. The numbers were perfect, the strategy flawless, the trap set. I thought of every smirk, every dismissal, every moment they'd tried to make us small. Time to play, boys, I whispered, and pressed send. The email from CP Rowan whooshed into cyberspace, and somewhere in the building a printer began quietly humming, producing copies of documents that would soon bring an empire to its knees. Game on. The board's response came faster than I expected. Walking into work Monday morning, I could feel the electricity in the air. People huddled in small groups, whispering. Jeremy's office was dark. He'd been called to an emergency meeting. Have you seen this? Jackson caught up to me at the coffee machine, waving his phone. Someone submitted a proposal that's got the board losing their minds. They're calling it revolutionary. I kept my face neutral as I stirred my coffee. Oh? Yeah, some guy named Rowan. Nobody knows who. Callie. Kylie's sharp voice cut through our conversation. My office. Now. I followed my cousin, noting how her usual confident stride seemed forced. She closed the door behind us and drew the blinds. I know it's you, she hissed. I know you're Rowan. That's quite an accusation, I replied, sipping my coffee. Any proof? Stop playing games. Do you have any idea what you're doing? The damage this could cause to the family name? I set my cup down hard enough for coffee to slosh over the rim. Family name? That's rich coming from you. You signed off on every discriminatory policy they pushed through. You don't understand, Kylie's voice cracked. There are things about Dad, about your father, things you don't know. What about my father? She shook her head. Just drop this, please, before you dig up something we can't bury again. Her words hit like ice water. I spent my lunch break in the archives room, pulling old company records. Most were digitized now, but some things still existed only on paper, things they didn't want easily searchable. 3 hours and dozens of files later, I found it. A yellowed newspaper clipping from 20 years ago, buried in a folder marked Historical Records. The headline made my blood run cold. Tech startup founder steps down amid controversy. The article detailed how the original founder, a woman named Maria Rivera, had been forced out of the company she built. The buyout was led by a group of investors, including my father, Ashton Palmer. My hands shook as I read further. The same patterns, the same playbook. They'd used legal loopholes, manufactured scandals, and strategic pressure to push her out. And my father had helped orchestrate it all. Finding anything interesting? I whirled around to find Jasmine in the doorway. She glanced at the article in my hands and nodded slowly. So, now you know, she said quietly. I wondered when you'd find it. You knew about this? Maria was my mentor, Jasmine replied. I've been waiting 15 years for someone to finally challenge them. When you started this, I had to help. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Sometimes people need to discover truth on their own. My phone buzzed. A message from Jeremy. All hands meeting tomorrow. Attendance mandatory. Big announcements coming. They're going to announce Rowan's proposal, Jasmine said. But they're also launching an investigation into who's behind it. Be careful. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about every Maria Rivera they'd crushed, every woman they'd silenced. Back at my desk, I found an envelope. Inside was a photo, old, creased, showing my father shaking hands with Jeremy. They looked younger, but their smiles held the same predatory edge I recognized from the present. A post-it note was stuck to the back in Kylie's handwriting. Last warning. Don't make me choose between family and survival. I crumpled the note and pulled up my email. Opening a new draft to CP Rowan's account, I began to type. To the board of directors, thank you for your interest in my proposal. I look forward to tomorrow's discussion. However, there are additional documents you should review before making any decisions. You think this is revenge? I whispered to the empty office as I attached files that would blow everything wide open. This is legacy repair. The sun was setting as I hit send, casting long shadows across my keyboard. Somewhere in the building, printers were humming again, spinning out pages that would rewrite history. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. The consultant they hired to present Rowan's proposal was exactly what I'd expected. Gray suit, gray hair, bland voice. Perfect cover for a revolutionary bombshell. The projections show a 300% increase in market share, he droned, clicking through slides I'd created. With minimal restructuring costs. Jeremy shifted in his seat, shooting glances around the room. He hadn't expected the board to bypass him and hire an external presenter. I could practically see the wheels turning in his head as he tried to figure out how to take credit for this. And who exactly is CP Rowan? Aston interrupted. Because I've been doing some digging. The author's identity is confidential, the consultant replied smoothly. As requested by the board. I kept my face carefully blank. though my heart was racing. Across the room, Jackson caught my eye and gave a subtle thumbs up. He thought I was just enjoying watching Jeremy squirm. He had no idea. After the meeting, I headed to HR to implement the next phase of my plan. The trick was getting access without arousing suspicion. "Hey, Sarah," I smiled at the receptionist. "Kylie asked me to pull some audit files for the Rowan review. She's stuck in meetings all day." "Oh, sure, she mentioned you'd be by." Sarah buzzed me through. My cousin had become so predictably paranoid, she'd told everyone to expect me snooping. What she hadn't expected was that I'd already cloned her security badge last week. 20 minutes later, I had what I needed. Records of every questionable promotion, every suspicious bonus, every hushed harassment settlement. All carefully documented by HR, all buried in digital files marked confidential. "Find what you're looking for?" I nearly jumped out of my skin. Aston stood in the doorway, smirking. "Just running some errands for Kylie," I said, closing the files on my screen. "Funny," he stepped closer, "because I just saw Kylie heading to lunch. And you know what else is funny? Jackson's been awful quiet lately, almost like he's working on something secret." "I'm sure I don't know what you mean." "No?" He leaned against my desk. "Because someone's been accessing sensitive files, someone's been sending encrypted emails, and someone's been meeting with Jackson after hours." I forced a laugh. "Are you seriously investigating your own employees?" "Just the suspicious ones." His smile turned ugly. "Like your friend Jackson. The board might be interested to know he's been feeding information to outside parties." My blood ran cold. They were going to target Jackson to get to Rowan. "Leave him out of this," I said quietly. "Or what?" Aston straightened his tie. "Face it, Callie. Whatever game you and your boyfriend are playing, you've already lost." He sauntered out, leaving me shaking with rage and fear. I had to warn Jackson, but before I could move, my phone buzzed with a message from Kylie. "Emergency meeting. Jeremy's office. Now." I found Jeremy, Kylie, and Aston waiting. The atmosphere was thick with tension. "Interesting development?" Jeremy said, sliding a paper across his desk. "Know what this is?" I glanced down. It was a printout of an email from Jackson to an unknown address, discussing company data. "We're suspending Jackson pending investigation," Kylie announced, not meeting my eyes, "and reviewing all his communications." "You can't," I started. "We can," Jeremy cut me off. "Unless someone wants to tell us what's really going on?" The room fell silent. I could feel Aston's smug satisfaction, see Kylie's quiet desperation. They were backing me into a corner, using Jackson as bait. "Nothing to say?" Jeremy smiled. "That's what I thought." "Kylie, process Jackson's suspension. Aston, start reviewing his files. Maybe we'll find out who our mysterious CP Rowan really is." I walked out of that office knowing I had to move faster than planned. They'd made a crucial mistake. They thought Jackson was their leverage over me. Instead, they'd just given me one more reason to burn everything down. Back at my desk, I pulled up the final phase of my plan. The one I'd hoped not to need yet, the nuclear option. "Time to meet CP Rowan," I whispered and began to type. "They suspended me," Jackson said, pacing my living room that evening. "No warning, no explanation, just escorted me out like a criminal." "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "This is all my fault." He stopped pacing. "What do you mean?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. "Jasmine, turn on the news. Now." I grabbed the remote, and there it was. Our company splashed across the screen. A leaked recording was playing, Jeremy's voice crystal clear. "Callie? She's a cautionary tale. Thought she could play with the big boys, had it coming. They all did. Sometimes you need to remind women of their place." Jackson's jaw dropped. "Is that yesterday's executive meeting?" I confirmed, "which someone happened to record. Someone like you?" I met his eyes. "Someone exactly like me." Understanding dawned on his face. "You're Rowan." "I'm sorry I didn't tell you." I needed to protect you. Fat lot of good that did, he laughed without humor. But I get it, and honestly, I'm glad it's you. My phone exploded with notifications. The recording was going viral. Hachas Turner Tech sexism trending on Twitter. Emails from the board marked urgent flooded my inbox. What now? Jackson asked. Before I could answer, someone pounded on my door. Through the peephole, I saw Jasmine, looking frantic. They know, she burst out as I let her in. Not about you being Rowan, but they know someone inside is orchestrating this. Jeremy's on the warpath. Let him come, I said, pulling out my laptop. I'm done playing nice. Callie, Jasmine grabbed my arm. If you do this, there's no going back. You'll never work in tech again. You think I care about that anymore? I pulled up the final document, my masterpiece. They want to talk about cautionary tales? Let's give them one they'll never forget. My phone rang. Kylie. I put it on speaker. Are you insane? She hissed. That recording just cost us 3 major clients. The board is calling for blood. Karma's funny that way, I replied. They're going to destroy you, she warned. Jeremy's already talking to lawyers. You'll be blacklisted from every major company. Tell Jeremy to check his email in 5 minutes. He'll have bigger problems than me. I hung up and turned to Jackson and Jasmine. Last chance to walk away. What's coming next? It won't be pretty. They exchanged looks. Jackson spoke first. I'm already suspended. Might as well go down swinging. Jasmine nodded. Maria would be proud. Do it. I hit send. The email went to every board member, major shareholder, and news outlet in our contact list. Subject line: The Truth About Turner Tech. Attached was a comprehensive document detailing every discriminatory policy, every covered-up harassment claim, every questionable financial decision. But the real bomb was in the appendix, proof of how they'd forced out the original founder, complete with emails between Jeremy and my father planning the whole thing. My phone immediately exploded. Kylie first. What have you done? Then Jeremy. You're finished? Finally, an unknown number. This is Maria Rivera. We should talk. Jasmine gasped. She's been waiting for this moment for 15 years. Emergency board meeting tomorrow. Jackson read from his phone. They're demanding Rowan appear in person. Then that's what they'll get. I closed my laptop. Time to introduce CP Rowan to the world. They'll never see it coming. Jasmine smiled. That's the point, I said, watching my phone light up with more messages, more reactions, more chaos. They thought they could silence us, hide us in the shadows. But the shadows are where revolutions begin, Jackson finished. Tomorrow would change everything. But tonight, watching the company's stock price plummet in real time, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Peace. The board wanted to meet CP Rowan? Fine, but they were about to learn that hell hath no fury like a woman with receipts. The boardroom crackled with tension. Press cameras flashed through the glass walls, reporters held back by security. Inside, board members shifted uncomfortably, while Jeremy paced like a caged animal. Where is this Rowan person? He demanded, checking his watch. We've waited long enough. I sat quietly in my usual spot, dressed in my sharpest suit. Jasmine had positioned herself near the door, while Jackson watched from the hallway through the glass. Everything was in place. The consultant cleared his throat. As I was saying, the proposal's projected earnings are unprecedented. The implementation plan— Forget the damn proposal! Jeremy slammed his hand on the table. I want to know who's behind this sabotage. That would be me. The room fell silent as I stood up. Kylie's face went white. Aston stopped mid-sip, coffee dripping down his chin. What are you talking about? Jeremy's voice was dangerous. I walked to the front of the room, heels clicking on hardwood. I'm CP Rowan, and this proposal isn't just about profits. It's about exposing the rot at the heart of this company. This is ridiculous, Jeremy laughed, but his eyes darted nervously to the press outside. She's lying. I pulled out my phone. Shall we call Maria Rivera and ask her opinion? She's very interested in discussing how she was forced out 20 years ago. The blood drained from Jeremy's face. Or, I continued, we could review these documents showing exactly how you and my father orchestrated that takeover, the same playbook you're using now. You have no proof. Check your emails, I cut him off. Every board member just received copies of everything, including the harassment settlements, the discriminatory promotion records, and the creative accounting that's kept it all hidden. Phones began buzzing around the table as board members scrolled through their inboxes. The horror on their faces told me everything. This is a criminal offense, Jeremy sputtered. Accessing confidential files. Actually, Jasmine stepped forward. As finance manager, I authorize these reviews. The real criminal offense is what's in those files. You're both fired, Jeremy snapped. You can't fire them, a new voice rang out. Everyone turned to see Maria Rivera herself stride into the room, flanked by two men in suits. But the board can fire you. Who let her in? Aston jumped up. I did, said the board chairman, standing slowly. Ms. Rivera contacted us last night with some disturbing information that matches what Ms. Palmer just provided. This is a witch hunt, Jeremy protested, but the panic in his voice was obvious. No, I said quietly. This is justice. Security, the chairman called. Please escort Mr. Turner and Mr. Garcia from the building. Their access is revoked pending investigation. As Jeremy was led out, he lunged at me. You'll never work in tech again. I'll make sure of it. Actually, Maria stepped forward, she already has a job offer from my new company. We value talent regardless of gender. Kylie tried to slip out, but I called after her. Leaving so soon, cousin? Don't you want to explain to the board why HR buried all those harassment claims? She froze, then slumped in defeat. The next hour was a blur of statements, signatures, and press announcements. The board voted to suspend all discriminatory policies. External auditors were called in. Maria Rivera was reinstated as a special advisor to oversee restructuring. Impressive work, Maria told me afterward. Though I have to ask, why Rowan? I smiled. It was my mother's maiden name. She always told me to fight smart, not just hard. Well, she handed me a business card. When you're ready for a fresh start, call me. We need strategists who aren't afraid to challenge the status quo. As the room cleared out, Jackson appeared at my side. So, what now? I looked around at the emptying boardroom, at Jasmine gathering evidence with the auditors, at Kylie being questioned by HR representatives. Now? I picked up my bag. Now we build something better, something they can never tear down. Through the windows, I could see Jeremy being escorted to his car, reporters swarming. The company's stock was in free fall, but its future was brighter than ever. Ready to go? Jackson asked. I nodded, taking one last look at the empire I'd just dismantled. More than ready. The real work starts tomorrow. The aftermath hit like a tsunami. Within hours, Chaka Turner Tech takedown was trending worldwide. News vans clogged the street outside the building. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with interview requests. Another one, Jackson said, tossing a newspaper onto my desk. The headline screamed, Tech Giant in Turmoil. Whistleblower exposes systemic discrimination. Have you seen the stock price? Jasmine called from her computer. Down 40% since opening. The shareholders are demanding Jeremy's resignation. I was clearing out my office when Aston appeared in the doorway, security escort behind him. His usual smirk was gone. They're making me do sensitivity training, he spat. Me. This is all your fault. No. I didn't even look up. This is karma. You think you've won? He stepped closer, but the security guard cleared his throat meaningfully. You've destroyed everything. Only the parts that needed destroying. I finally met his eyes. Say hi to Jeremy at the unemployment office. After he was escorted out, Jackson helped me pack. Maria called. She wants you to start next week. I'm not taking the job. He nearly dropped the box he was holding. What? Why not? Because I've had enough of other people's companies. I pulled an envelope from my bag. I've been approved for a small business loan. I'm starting my own consulting firm. Seriously? 3 clients already signed on. Turns out lots of companies want help avoiding PR disasters like this one. I smiled. Want to join me? I need a head of analytics. Before he could answer, Kylie appeared. She looked smaller somehow, defeated. They're investigating everyone in HR, she said quietly. I'll probably be charged with criminal negligence. Probably, I agreed. She swallowed hard. I should have stood up to them. Should have stood with you. Yes, you should have. Your father called me, she blurted out. He wants to meet, says he can explain everything. I zipped my laptop bag closed. Tell him he's 20 years too late. He's still family. No, I cut her off. Family doesn't help destroy other families. Family doesn't cover up corruption. Family stands together. She left without another word, shoulders hunched. That was harsh, Jackson said softly. So was betrayal. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria. Board meeting in 10. They're voting on the new leadership structure. You should go, Jackson urged. See the final nail in Jeremy's coffin. I shook my head. I've got a better idea. We gathered in the break room, where Jasmine had set up a live stream of the board meeting on the big screen. Dozens of employees crowded around, watching as Jeremy's fate was sealed. Effective immediately, the chairman announced. Jeremy Turner is terminated from all positions within the company. Furthermore, criminal investigations will proceed regarding financial misconduct. Cheers erupted around us. Someone popped champagne. To Callie! Jasmine raised her glass. The woman who brought down the boys' club. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Hello, daughter. My father's voice hit me like a physical blow. How did you get this number? I've been following the news, he said. What you did, it was impressive. And terrible, but impressive. Learn anything from it? He sighed. I learned that karma catches up eventually. That the sins of the father— Save it, I cut him off. I'm not interested in your redemption arc. I'm trying to make amends. Try making amends with Maria Rivera. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. I hung up as Jackson came looking for me. You okay? Better than okay? I showed him my phone, emails from potential clients already flooding in. Ready to start something new? He grinned. With you? Always. Back in the break room, the celebration continued. On screen, the board was announcing sweeping changes, new diversity initiatives, transparency requirements, leadership overhaul. They'll never see women the same way again, Jasmine said proudly. I watched my former colleagues celebrating, saw hope replacing fear in their eyes. That was the point. The revolution wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about rebuilding something better from the ashes of the old guard. And this time, we'd do it right. Palmer Consulting Group, I answered my office phone, smiling at the floor-to-ceiling windows of our new downtown space. The view still hadn't gotten old. Turn on CNBC, Jackson called from his office next door. They're covering the Turner Tech fallout again. I flipped on the wall-mounted screen just in time to see Jeremy being led into court in handcuffs. The ticker beneath read, Former tech executive charged with fraud discrimination. Quite a sight, isn't it? Maria stepped into my office, making herself comfortable in the visitor's chair. The mighty brought low. How's the company rebuild going? I asked, muting the TV. Better than expected. Having Jasmine as our new CFO has been revolutionary, though we miss having you on the board. I'm better suited for this. I gestured around at our growing consultancy. Speaking of which, how's the new inclusion initiative coming along? That's actually why I'm here. She pulled out a folder. We want to roll it out industry-wide. Think you can help? Before I could answer, my assistant buzzed. Kylie's here for her appointment. I met Maria's questioning look. Pro bono case. My cousin looked different when she entered, humbler, wearing a simple blazer instead of her usual designer suits. Community service had changed her. "I'll leave you to it." Maria stood, squeezing my shoulder as she passed Kylie. "The support group is going well," Kylie said once we were alone. "Women helping women rebuild their careers after corporate discrimination. We had 20 new members last week." "Good. They'll need it when the class action lawsuit hits." "About that," she pulled out an envelope. "I'm testifying. Against Jeremy, against the old board, against Dad." I sat back. Really? It's time to make things right. Actually right, not just family loyalty right. A knock at the door revealed Jackson with a tablet. "Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this." He pulled up an article titled, "The Death of the Boys Club," featuring my photo alongside a quote from Jeremy's infamous declaration, "She'll never make it." Below was a list of our consulting firm's achievements. 32 companies transformed, hundreds of women promoted to leadership, millions in revenue generated through inclusive business practices. "They want to do a follow-up piece," Jackson said, "about how destroying one toxic company created a movement." "Speaking of movement," Kylie stood, "I should get to the support group. Thanks for everything." After she left, Jackson perched on my desk. "Still think you made the right choice? Walking away from Turner Tech's offers?" "Look around." I gestured to our expanding office space, the team meetings visible through glass walls, the wall of thank you letters from women we'd helped. "We're building something better." My phone buzzed, a text from Jasmine. "Board approved the industry-wide initiative. Ready to change the world?" "Always," I texted back. Jackson picked up the newspaper with Jeremy's courtroom photo. "Remember what he said? About making sure you never worked in tech again?" I laughed. "Funny how that worked out." "Ms. Palmer?" My assistant appeared. "Your next client is here. Another startup wanting to Jeremy-proof their culture." "Perfect." I stood, straightening my jacket. "Let's show them how it's done." Walking into the conference room, I saw the nervous faces of yet another company's leadership team. They'd seen what happened at Turner Tech. They'd watched the old guard fall. Now they wanted to learn. "Welcome," I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Let's talk about building something that lasts." Through the windows, I could see the Turner Tech building in the distance, its new logo reflecting the sunlight. A reminder that sometimes you have to tear something down to build it back better. They were right. I didn't make it on their path. I carved my own, and they bled on the thorns. But more importantly, I cleared the way for others to follow, to build, to lead. That wasn't just revenge, that was revolution. And we were just getting started.